From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to this week's edition of This Week with the President, a weekly news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and work of the President of Guyana in his quest to realize the good life for all Guyanese. I am your host, Gomati Gangadin. Thank you for joining us. In the highlights this week, Guyana observes National Tree Day 2016. 11 Guyanese martyrs remembered as Guyana commemorates Cuba Air Disaster. GDF bids farewell to Brigadier Phillips, welcomes new Chief of Staff. And failed One Laptop per Family project replaced with education-focused One Laptop for Teacher initiative. These stories and more on This Week with the President. Stay with us. Climate change for quite some time now has been a major concern for almost every country across the globe. With greater international consciousness on the importance of managing the human impact on the environment, Guyana is emerging as a consistent partner and leader in the push towards the development of a green state. Though small, Guyana has vast amounts of untouched, pristine rainforest, which it intends to use to combat the effects of the dreaded climate change phenomenon. The Awokrama forest, which is Guyana's gift to the world, is going to be one of the several more protected areas, which will be developed by the state and will represent the diversity of the country's geographical landscape. In keeping with President David Granger's commitment to a green Guyana, the country observed National Tree Day, launched by the head of state in 2015. National Tree Day 2016 saw the president participating in the commemorative planting of trees at the Awokrama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development, the Fairview Airstrip, and the People's National Congress headquarters in Sophia, Georgetown. During his address at Awokrama, in an event organized by the Ministry of Agriculture, the President said that Guyana's green agenda can be achieved but through a concerted effort of all citizens. He added that Awokrama itself possesses vast potential with regard to our biodiversity and is also a shining example of the country's potential as a whole in tackling climate change.
We're here because Awokrama is in the center of Guyana, and Guyana is in the center of the Guyana Shield, and the Guyana Shield is bigger than Greenland. The Guyana Shield is perhaps the single largest area of unspoilt biodiversity on planet Earth. I call it the second Garden of Eden.
This shining example, the President said, helps to preserve the habitats of the dynamic array of flora and fauna that make up Guyana's biodiversity, and the destruction of trees places these species that live in the forest at risk.
Guyana is what you call a net carbon sink, that we absorb more carbon than we generate. That is why 7 years ago, the Minister of Environment of Norway came here, right here, on the banks of the Essequibo, to sign an agreement. Because many of the industrialized countries generate carbon, which contribute to global warming, and we absorb that carbon. How we absorb that carbon? With trees.
As part of his commitment to Guyana's green agenda, the President also announced the establishment of the Department of Environment, which will be headed by Ms. Ndibi Schwarz. The department will be responsible for the Environmental Protection Agency, Protected Areas Commission, National Parks Commission, and the Wildlife Division. Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Noel Holder, who was also present at the event, said that the event helps to create awareness to the use of trees in the sustenance of biodiversity.
I urge all Guyanese to commit to planting trees, reducing deforestation with the concomitant effects of reducing poverty and promoting sustainable livelihoods for all dependent on trees. It is noteworthy that the Iwokrama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development has been chosen as a site to launch Agriculture Month and to observe National Tree Day. Over the last 20 years, the Iwokrama International Center has managed 371,000 hectares of the Iwokrama rainforest and contributed to lasting ecological, economic, and social benefits to the people of Guyana and to the world in general.
National Tree Day was first launched last year in Bartica, and the event also marks the beginning of Agriculture Month. President David Granger led the nation in honoring the martyrs of the Cuba Air Disaster on Thursday at a ceremony to solemnly observe 40 years since the bombing of the Cuba Aviación Flight CU-455. The president was joined by relatives and friends of the 11 Guyanese who were killed, ministers and of other officials of the government and officials of the Cuban embassy at the Cuba Air Disaster Monument, which is located at the University of Guyana's Turkine campus. Remembered were Eric Norton, 18 years old, Ann Nelson, 18 years old, Shish Narayan Kumar, 18 years old, Jacqueline Williams, 19 years old, Roth Thomas, 18 years old, wife of a former Guyanese diplomat, Margaret Bradshaw, economist, Gordon Soba, Violet Thomas, Rita Thomas, and 9-year-old Sabrina Haripol, who all perished on October 6, 1976, when Cuba Aviación Flight CU-455 exploded 9 minutes after takeoff from the Barbados Sewell International Airport, now Grantley Adams International Airport. The explosion was caused by a bomb which had been placed in the aircraft's rear lavatory. The plane went into a rapid descent while the pilot unsuccessfully tried to return to the airport. A second bomb exploded during the following minutes, causing the plane to crash. 48 passengers and 25 crew members lost their lives that day. The Guyanese on board included students and members of their families who were on their way to Cuba to study in a number of disciplines, including medicine and engineering. Also on that ill-fated flight were 5 North Koreans and Cuban passengers and crew members. The Guyanese head of state said that on this date, Guyana will always recall with anguish the loss of lives which resulted from the bombing of the Cuba Aviación Flight CU-455. Though 40 years have elapsed since this attack, other small states of the region, the president said that the passage of time has not diminished the pain felt by the relatives of the 11 Guyanese who perished, nor that of Guyana.
The Cuban terrorist attack ensnared the Caribbean community in a Cold War conflict which was not of the region's making. The terrorist attack constituted an assault on the freedom-loving peoples of the Caribbean. It was an attack on the right of the small states of the region to determine their international relations in their own national interest. The heads of state and government of the Caribbean community in Cuba at the second CARICOM Cuba Summit in Barbados in December 2005, urged the government of the United States of America to consider favorably the request for extradition of the suspect to Venezuela in order to ensure that he is brought to justice on charges of terrorism in accordance with states' obligations on international law and their own national legislation. Guyanese today remember the victims of the Cubana terrorist attack.
He noted that by remembering the horror of the past at this solemn commemoration, it is intended that present and future generations of Caribbean citizens can be spared the recurrence of such transnational crimes.
We intend that by remembering the horror of the past at this solemn commemoration, we could spare present and future generations of Caribbean citizens the recurrence of such a transnational crime. The observance of the 40th anniversary of the Cubana terrorist attack takes place in the year that Guyana celebrates its 50th anniversary of political independence. We recall that our national independence was won by the sacrifice of those who were prepared to give their lives for the principles for which they stood. Let it not be that the blood of victims of this terrorist attack was shed in vain.
Cuban ambassador to Guyana, Mr. Julio Cesar Gonzalez Marchante, in his remarks said that the victims were humble workers or students and athletes who fulfilled with modesty and dedication the task which were assigned by their homelands. This commemoration, Ambassador Marchante said, will reaffirm the unbreakable bond and the will of Cuba to fight terrorism, its deepest rejection and condemnation of all acts, methods, and practices of terrorism in all forms and manifestations by whomever, against whoever, and wherever they are committed, whatever their motivations are, including those in which states are directly or indirectly involved. As Guyana continues to work on the development of its capacity in the area of internal and external security, a new Chief of Staff is now at the helm of the Guyana Defense Force. Brigadier George Allen Lewis took over command in keeping with the policy of the force and will, among other things, focus on the recapitalization of Guyana's armed forces. On September 28, President Granger, in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief, promoted Mr. Lewis from the rank of Colonel to Brigadier before administering to him the oath of office as the new Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force.
I, George Allen Lewis, do hereby solemnly declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana, that I will faithfully execute the office of Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, without fear or favor, affection or illness, and that in the execution of the functions of that office, I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Republic of the Republic. And I do swear, so help me God.
The Defense Board, in accordance with the Defense Act, Chapter 1501, has the responsibility for the command, discipline, administration of, and all other matters relating to the force. This board is chaired by the President.
The responsibility of the Defense Board shall not extend to the operational use of the force, for which use responsibility shall be vested in the Chief of Staff, subject to the general or special directions of the Minister. That is the law. The Defense Board has functioned entirely within the ambit of the law. The Defense Force, in accordance with the Defense Act, shall be charged with, and I quote, the defense of and maintenance of order in Guyana, and with such other duties as may from time to time be defined by the Defense Board. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the importance and supremacy of the Defense Board.
The President said that the Defense Board deliberated and decided that on the retirement of Brigadier Mark Phillips, the most suitable senior officer to be appointed as his replacement is Brigadier Lewis.
The board is confident that Brigadier Lewis is the most senior and best qualified officer to perform the functions of the high office of Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, therefore, has an unambiguous mandate within the law to apply his military education, his military expertise, and his military experience to protect the citizens and defend the territorial integrity of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana in accordance with the Defense Act, under the authority of the Defense Board, and in accordance with the directives of the Minister. I have the honor, therefore, this morning to congratulate Brigadier George Lewis on behalf of the Guyana Defense Board on his promotion and on his appointment to the position of Chief of Staff.
Brigadier Lewis enlisted in the Army on September 1, 1981, and was commissioned after completing the Standards Officers Course SOC number 11 in August 1982.
Something that I've been working for from the first day I joined the Army. I won't say that when I joined in, I'd hoped to reach or become the Chief of Staff. But as I grew in rank and experience, the thought started crossing my mind. And today it's been achieved.
What are some of your immediate goals for the Army at this stage?
Well, you know, our mandate is to provide border defense. We have some challenges there, which we definitely have to work on. It may involve some amount of recapitalization, acquisition of new equipment, and so on. But we're in discussion with the Guyana Defense Board. We've identified the issues, and we're working to resolve them.
The President also thanked former Chief of Staff Brigadier Mark Phillips for his service to the force since August 2013. The Defense Board is particularly satisfied with Brigadier Phillips' conduct of the two military exercises Greenheart and Home Guard and the administrative preparedness and operational readiness of the force during his tenure. A military parade was also held at Base Camp Ghana, where Brigadier Phillips ceremonially handed over command to the force to Brigadier Lewis.
Parade commander has called and obtained the permission of Brigadier Phillips to proceed.
Side person, one pace, right close, march. Color party, 4 paces, left close, march.
The current generation of students is growing at a time when the world is well into what is known as the information age. This is a period defined by a wide variety of new media and digital communication, which has transformed the way people communicate, and of particular importance, the way education instruction is delivered and received. But while classroom instruction has been revolutionized in other parts of the world, Ghana has been left behind, with access to information communication technology being a significant problem. President David Granger intends to change this. Combined with a number of other plans and policies which are being implemented, the One Laptop Per Teacher initiative was launched on World Teachers' Day at the Cyril Potter College of Education. This initiative is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Public Telecommunications in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and a restructuring of the failed One Laptop Per Family program, which was launched by the previous administration.
The world has entered the information age. Information and information technology and innovation are transforming every facet of human existence. ICT is revolutionizing education. It is transforming the manner in which information is assembled, organized, and disseminated. It is changing the way education is delivered in the classroom. I do not see information technology as a luxury, as an option. It is a necessity. And any government that wants an educated population has to look upon information technology as an obligation, not an option. Today, we speak to teachers and student teachers. And teachers are at the heart of the education system. They are vital to the dissemination of education to our children. They nourish the minds of our children.
The president reminded that the future of education requires teachers to have a fuller knowledge of information communications technology, and that as the world becomes more technology dependent, ICT in schools will help both students and teachers prepare students for the real world environment.
The One Laptop Per Teacher initiative, which is being launched this morning, asserts the importance of education to the nation. It acknowledges the role of information in education and the value of our teachers in the delivery of that information to our students. Teachers are essential to education and must lead the process. We don't want the students to be ahead of the teachers. We don't want the teachers to be left behind. Teachers must become familiar with the technologies of information, the gathering of information, data storage, and data retrieval. Teachers must have greater access to ICT and its benefits. And this is why we have the One Laptop Per Teacher initiative.
This massive drive for the implementation of the use of ICT in schools is supported by the e-governance unit, which falls under the purview of the Ministry of Public Telecommunications. Over the last 3 weeks, over 100 educational institutions and organizations have been connected to the fiber optic network.
In one short year, we have been able to provide internet access to 5 regional development offices, both university campuses, 10 technical vocational institutions in Region 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they are all connected to the government network.
The minister said that this initiative is designed to give teachers an important tool to work with and is a vital component of a wider national program of raising digital literacy.
This will directly benefit all Guyanese, including students, their teachers and parents, young professionals, and of course those young entrepreneurs. There is no doubt that higher levels of internet penetration have a direct positive impact on higher levels of gross national product, GDP, in countries and improves the standard of living of all citizens. It brings with it improved opportunities for e-education, that is, using technology to carry a teacher in a classroom in Georgetown to an indigenous community via platforms like Skype, to provide better services from government agencies to citizens in such areas as health and so many other important areas.
At the launch, several teachers from CPC received laptops, as well as a group of students who performed exceptionally well at this year's National Grade 6 Assessment Examinations. Now we take a look at the President's Diary. Continuing the focus on education, on Tuesday evening, President David Granger attended the opening of the 13th Annual Conference of the Caribbean Area Network for Quality Assurance in Tertiary Education, CANCATE, at the National Cultural Center, where he said that poor performances at the nursery, primary, and secondary levels of education are not just a problem for tertiary institutions, but also for the development of a highly skilled and qualified workforce, and called for a quality assurance approach to educational delivery in Guyana and the Caribbean region. This conference was organized by the National Accreditation Council in collaboration with the Education Ministry, with funding from the United National Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Several countries from the region and the hemisphere are participating this year, including Jamaica, Canada, St. Lucia, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, Grenada, and St. Kitts and Nevis. President David Granger Wednesday attended the launch of an autobiography of 91-year-old Miss Carmen Jarvis, entitled From Seed Time to Harvest. The book's title was adopted from the lyrics of the Bishop's High School song, where she was a student and later head teacher. The event was held at the Georgetown Club. On the same day, President Granger assured the senior citizens of the country that the government is carefully examining their welfare and new measures will be instituted in the new year to ensure that they are afforded a better quality of life. He gave this assurance at a special luncheon organized for elderly persons from the Upper Demerara Berbice region, Region 10, held at the Guyana in observance of the International Day for Older Persons, which was observed on Saturday, October 1. This week in the Presidency and Beyond, we take a look at the important symbolism of national awards as Guyana honors 86 outstanding Guyanese. The symbols of our nationhood have received special attention since President David Granger took office in May 2015. Whether it is the national monuments, national songs, and no doubt the bestowing of national awards, the head of state recognizes that these symbols have an important role to play in the strengthening of the Guyanese identity and national pride. Having committed most of his life in service to the nation, President Granger sees the value in rewarding Guyanese who have used their talents and abilities to strengthen national unity, develop the country, and earn international recognition and acclaim. As Chancellor of the Orders of Guyana, President David Granger on Thursday registered the nation's appreciation for 86 Guyanese who have served their country with distinction by bestowing them with national awards, ranging from the Disciplined Services Medal for meritorious service to the Order of Roraima for their outstanding services and sterling contributions to the people of Guyana and to the country's development. After awarding 4 persons with the Disciplined Services Medal for meritorious service, 2 with the Military Service Medal, 1 with the Military Service Star, 25 with the Medal of Service, 31 with the Golden Arrow of Achievement, 21 with the Cacique's Crown of Honor, and 2 with the Order of Roraima, President Granger said that Ghana is a grateful nation, and this appreciation can be through the conferral of the national honors.
It was at this time in 1970 that Guyana introduced a system of national honors to recognize the outstanding service rendered by its citizens to the country. National honors are not ornaments. They are symbols of nationhood. And as the Chancellor of the Judiciary explained, they are much deserved.
National awards, the President said, promote a sense of national identity by proclaiming the values for which we stand and reflect our ambitions and aspirations to improve our quality of life and to encourage emulation. Prior to the investiture ceremony held in 2015 after the current administration took office, national awards had last been issued in 2011. Referencing this, the President said that capricious conferral of national awards must never again happen.
National honors are an acknowledgement of the service of citizens, male or female, rich or poor, from the coastland or hinterland, servicemen or private citizens who have given and who continue to give selfless service to our communities and to our country. National honors are the ultimate recognition of a grateful nation. But we must never again neglect these honors or their conferral on the basis of caprice or whim. Such neglect is contempt for our Constitution and the denial of our nationhood. Guyana will continue to pay homage to its deserving citizens by respecting this institution of national honors and by appointing persons to the orders with regularity and consistency.
Some of the awardees spoke with us and expressed their pride in being recognized by their country.
I think this new government is off on a good footing because it has really reinstated and it has made very prominent, and I think it has filled the gaps over the years when the national honors were a bit low. So I think it's just terrific that one of the first things the new president did was to actually reinstate the giving up of the honors. And, you know, so hail up to the new president and his team.
Everything that I have here is for my people, not only for the Wapchan people, but for the entire indigenous peoples, not only in Guyana, but the world over. I want to say that my association with the Amerindian Peoples Association has brought me thus far. I've been working with them for the last 22 years. I never knew that I would have been this type of person to be the voice of those who cannot speak. It is not an easy job because it is voluntary. I do not have a job, I do not have a salary, but my commitment is to the people who don't have a voice. Previously, under the previous government, my life was threatened. With this government, my work has been recognized, and I'm very thankful for the recognition of my work that I've been done for the past 22 years.
Of those honored were Speaker of the National Assembly Dr. Barton Scotland and Mr. Rex McKay, who both received the Order of Roraima, Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force Brigadier George Lewis, who received the Military Service Star, Miss Ingrid Fong, educator, who received the Golden Arrow of Achievement, Miss Samiran Bira and Miss Besundai Beni Prashad Rayaman, who both received the Golden Arrow of Achievement, Mr. Inderjeet Bihari and Ambassador Beni Karan, who received the Cacique's Crown of Honor. And with that, we have come to the end of this week's edition of This Week with the President. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website at www.motp.gov.gy, like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a blessed week, Guyana. Goodbye.